Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. We do a quick audio check here. All right. Sounds like I'm good to go here. All right, all right. We got a jam-packed informational day today. All right, a lot of good stuff happening. All right, make sure this camera's good here. Give me 1 second here. Let me just line this up a tad bit. All right, of course, method number one here. All right, just want to get a good, make sure my camera's good to go. All right, let me just make sure my computer's good to go. All right, we're good on the software. All right, all right. We got some good stuff to talk about today. All right, we are what in December, so the month is we're like halfway there, a little over halfway there. Okay, we are pretty much at we see the finish line for the end of this year. All right, so very exciting year. Okay, of course we're gonna finish strong. Okay, right now I know a lot of places, a lot of locations. They're pretty much wrapping it up. Pretty much, the year is pretty much over with a lot of people, right? But if you're running a home business, a small business, any type of business, all right, this is like go-to time because we got to finish strong. All right, this is where a lot of people are taking breaks, and if you are taking a break, it's all good, right? Because it is pretty crazy right now, especially shipping is kind of crazy. Not as bad as last year or the year prior, okay, but it's still crazy, right? The post office, as soon as you walk inside, it's like mad chaos. Okay. Of course, if you have everything, if you're doing all your shipping online, right? You have everything prepared. It's easy day just to drop it off, right? But I'm pretty sure that wait time right now, I'm pretty sure it's at least 45 minutes where I'm at. Okay, where I'm at, it's just pretty much line coming out the door. So tracking, it's been all right, right? If you want to share down in the comments how your shipping has been going so far, if you've had any kind of awkward kind of scenario. I've had some stuff where I mailed it to Florida, got to Florida, it actually went all the way back. For some reason, it went to Oregon and then it went back to Florida. So that was like the most random stuff, right? So we are at the finish line towards after today. We have two more lives left. All right. I do want to finish with a bang. Okay. Because as soon as we get into January, all right, here I'm going to transition to location. So the shop is going to stay here for the first half of the year, but I'm going to be moving uh, East Coast, okay, Virginia area. And then at the end of the year, I'll be in San Diego where we're going to finally finalize. All right. So a lot of moving pieces next year, a lot of goals, a lot of good stuff. Right. Of course, always the training never stops. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Kingsbury. Lena Gray from Australia. All right. All right. I know you're at a midnight. All right. That's crazy. Thank you for hanging out here live. Barb, right? 16 degrees over there. It's pretty cold here. Yeah, we're at 23, so we're kind of there. T Town in the house. So handmade. Marcos from Texas. Rick, Texas. All right, we got a lot of Texas in the house. All right, Abdullah. How many trim stops is too many trim stops in a digitized design? All right, we're gonna talk about this today. All right, how many? I like designs with one trim. That's what and I'm gonna talk about that today. TMG in the house, Aldell. All right. And then Barb, my shop is basically closed until January 2nd. Busy rearranging. Yup. So even though you did shut down, you're still putting in work, right? You're still organizing and preparing for day one. All right. Rick Valdez, good morning. Antoine. All right. I'm Quade from Miami, Florida. Oh, right. Oh, and that's kind of crazy. 21 degrees in Texas. All right. All right. All right. So today we are talking about three different ways to stitch out wings. All right. So wings, I have a project coming up. Uh, it's due next year where I'm going to be doing about 50 wings, different designs. So I kind of wanted to talk about kind of like how I go about approaching wings. All right. So when we're talking about three different ways, all right, let me just give you a preview of what we're going to talk about today. Okay. I'm kind of working backwards where I'm showing you kind of like the final product. And then we'll go back into the digitizing software and go over all the little small details. Okay. So this one here, I would say I'm kind of breaking it down with like the easiest way or the most straightforward way to the more difficult type or more moving pieces or more obstacles we got to think about. Okay. So here, I would say this is kind of pretty straightforward. All right. We have a fill. So this is all the gray, the light gray is all one object fill, and then we have the details. Okay, we have all these details with the wings and all the little minor details. Okay, good thing about this, we can include little small details where when we start talking about the other way, we kind of got to take away some of the details. All right, we have a gray fill here. We have the black fill on top of the gray. Then we have the letter. Okay, so trim wise, we have the full fill gray. That's one trim. We have um, we have the black fill, so two, and then we have the details. So we'll call these the run stitches, three, and then we have the letter B. All right, four trim stitches, right? If we don't plan accordingly, we can easily have 100 trims on this file. All right, so we're always looking at how many trims. Very important. Okay, um, that's really when I'm looking and analyzing designs. All right, even though we don't have a lot of that information when we're analyzing designs, that's something that I really like to look at. Okay. All right, so this would be method number one. Method number two, I'm gonna call it. Now we're getting into the sand stitch. Okay, I'm gonna call this one more like a. Well, I don't even have a name for it. All right, but let's go with this one here. Okay, this one here is when you kind of see the wings. Let's zoom in a tad bit. All right, this is where you have the wings. Okay, and you see the open area in between the wings. Okay, this is this is me kind of like actually digitizing according to the file. Okay, but we can always adjust certain items. So here, the wings are a little thin. All right, a little thin. So this is where we can make judgment calls and kind of change it out a bit. All right, where we kind of make the wings a little thicker, just so they could stand out a bit. Okay, so I've seen this type of version a lot, like for the medical um, industry, where they have it's easier to see and know the wing. All right, so we have the details right here. So either full detail of the actual wings, or we can break it up into a little thicker type wings. So let's see. All right. So the same design. The only thing I did was combine like the two sand stitches into one. All right. And then the third, the third way, which is kind of like my preferred way. All right. It's a little bit more detailed, a little bit more planning. All right. And that is the full. Let me zoom in here because this is where you start seeing the details. All right. Let me adjust the color here. Oops. Messing up my camera right here. Hold on. Give me one sec. Let me adjust the lighting here. So here, this is like my fan favorite. Um, Let me brighten it up a bit. All right, we are super zoomed in right here. All right, so all right. Let me see if you. Yeah, I think you got a good view here, where you could kind of see the details in it. Okay, we do see a little gapping on the left. Okay, we could make little minor adjustments. Um, we can see the gapping because we're super zoomed in. All right. Once you zoom out, so when I'm looking at it from this distance, all right, it's kind of like non-existent. Okay. But we are super zoomed in. All right. So you can see the details in here. All right. Um, Now let me show you a file before. Okay. Before. So here, gaps are closed up. Okay. But there can be situations where we might have gaps that are too obvious, right? So like for example here, all right? So I'm gonna kind of show you how I go about, so this one here was sample number one here. And then when we make the adjustments, okay? And this one here, it's kind of like it's a moving target because you could move garments. You could go from garment to garment and you'll see little gapping, right? But this one here is the final one, all right? This file here, all done in one stitch. All right, so that's like my when I'm digitizing. Of course, the planning stage is always seeing what is the best route. And my goal when I'm digitizing, I always want to make it where I have the least amount of cuts. So in this situation, one cut in this whole file. All right. Uh, Let me just bring this up real quick. All right, just real quick. If you have any questions, put a Q in front of it, and if I catch it, it's easier for me to catch questions if it has a little Q in the front. All right. Uh, One thing about wings. All right. One thing that I want to talk about wings. A lot of objects. Okay. So a lot of shapes in there. A lot of stacking of objects. A lot of potential for gapping. So push pull plays a big role here. Okay. This one here, today's design is 3 inches wide. No, 4 inches wide. Okay, 4 inches wide. So pretty good piece, right, to go on left chest logos. All right. Um, so many different ways to do wings. Okay, there is not one way. I'm not going to show you like this is the way you have to go because even when I'm doing wings, there's always better ways to do it or more efficient ways to do it. Okay, so if you see anything that's more efficient or better way and you want to present it in the chat, or if you're watching this in the replay, if you got different way to do it, all right, I'm all open to see different ways to do certain items. Okay, even when I stitch something out, even when I'm looking at it stitching out, I catch little certain things where I'm like, okay, next time I'm gonna do it like this, or next time I'm gonna start from this side and go move my way around that way. All right, so there's always ways to do it better. Okay, um, and one announcement: if you are a YouTube channel member, you have these three files available for download, so you could follow along. Okay, you can follow along. You can kind of dissect, measure certain items. Okay, we're gonna go deep and measure certain overlaps. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of give you um, my recipe to avoid gapping. Okay, so for here, pretty good in the gapping. All right. Usually you go from garment to garment and you might introduce gapping. All right. Just like if you're working with something stretchy, when you're working with something stretchy, your garment wants to kind of open up within side the wings. All right. Um, all right, let's go back here. All right. Let me just kind of I have a picture here. I always like doing a breakdown, kind of oh, one thing, let's talk about something right here. Okay. If we're talking about open gaps, okay, so let me see. Let me brighten it up a bit again. All right. There there could be situations where you have gaps. So this one here was my first the first sample, okay? You could have situations where if it's just a dot, you could have like a marker, okay? And I would suggest, let's say just you have one little dot, I would suggest just making a little dot right there, okay? Um, because using markers, you'll see like fabric markers where people kind of have gaps and they want to close it up. Um, my suggestion would be only use the marker if it's only a dot. Okay, if it's just a quick dot, okay, very useful to use a marker. Okay, what I wouldn't recommend is to do a full line. Okay, so for here, let's say for example here, we have a line. Okay, it would be kind of tricky. All right, you could just make a line of dots. Okay, but if you do have a full line, I would recommend just fix it in the software. All right, you could probably salvage it just by making a line of dots. Okay, but once you start using the marker too much, okay, uh, or you could probably salvage this. All I did was a couple dots here. Okay, but what you don't want to do, you don't want to be kind of like coloring like a coloring book right here. All right, we always try to fix it in the software, but if you have like a dot, bam, you could put it just right there. Okay, sometimes I'm telling you, there's a file works perfectly fine on 10 items, and then on the 11th you'll have a little open gap. Okay, situations like that you could just use the marker. All right, something similar, color similar, and just make a dot. Okay, all right, just kind of like as a FYI. All right, let's talk about, I always like to break down the file. Okay, let's zoom in a bit right here. All right, so here we have our logo. It's kind of I printed it out bigger than what it really is, just to kind of get an idea of the game plan. Okay, so let's go over this one here, which is kind of my favorite way of, or my favorite. I like this one here because from a distance, you could tell that it's wings, right? You could tell that it's wings, but as you get closer, you'll see the details. And a lot of people, especially I do a lot of air wings. A lot of people like the details. Okay, likes when they kind of zoom in. Hold on, now I can't tell which one was the one I just fixed. Yeah, this one. So this one here had like a little gap right here. You could just put a little dot. All right. So this one here, a lot of people that like to look at stitches, okay, they'll see this and they'll see the small details that go into it. Okay, now, okay, there, this one here. We'll start with this one um, for right now as a sample up here. Okay, so here we got to know what's on top of what. Okay, so here let's just analyze the right side of this wing. Okay, let me get a pencil here. All right, just grabbing a quick pencil. All right, let's focus on this side, because once you have one side of the wing, okay, it's just copy and paste on the other side. All right, so we're really digitizing from this wing. Once we have the wing, that's pretty much 80% there. Okay, so when we're talking about the wing, all right, um, we got to see what's on top of what. Okay, now, of course, you could, there's like the anatomy of the wing. Okay, everything has a name on the wing. All right, I don't really know the full anatomy. There are people that know, right? What's the primary, the secondary, um, everything, what each feather's called. Okay, at this level, okay, we're gonna keep it very basic, and I'm just gonna say that this top part, this is gonna be the top side, okay, the upper layer, because everything's gonna be layered, and this is the bottom. Okay, very important, because that'll tell us where to start, where to end. So we do want to start here on the bottom and work our way up. Okay, and then we have this part, this middle part, right? The middle, right? So the way we're gonna work from here, from the bottom, work our way up, and then transition to this small little middle portion of it, and then finalize. This should always be our last stitch here, this top side, okay, which is kind of like the main flight wings. Okay, this one here is the one you really want to uh, make it shine. All right, kind of using the same color there. Okay, but this one here, okay, this is our like primary stitch here. Kind of curves. All right, these first ones, these first bottom stitches, okay, usually they're straightforward because size-wise they're pretty big. All right. All right. And for me, it's good practice just to draw it out. I kind of want to get an idea of how it should look, right? Everything should be kind of symmetric. If you have everything nicely cleaned up, then when it stitches out, it's appealing to the eye. Okay, so here, let's see. All right, now here, if we were to try to put all these small details, let's look at it on this side. If we were to try to put all these small details, right, that's a lot of objects right here, right? A lot of objects. All right, what's gonna happen every time you have an object, you have to add overlap. Okay, so that's a lot of overlap that we have here. A lot of small stitches. Uh, Big possibility of breaking needles. All right. So, and it may cause the file to be very kind of just choppy in this area. All right. So different things that we can do. We can just put a fill stitch here. Okay. You can probably put a fill stitch just to fill those spaces. Or what I like to do, okay, what I like to do, so I'll show you up here, is instead of having like 20 pieces up here, all right, instead of having 20 objects, I'm just going to keep it simple. So this is the top part. This is that top or top stitch. I'm going to keep it simple and make 3 objects here. All right, so you can see it here. All right, just to keep everything very simple. All right, now the amount of details you want to add, okay, eventually there's going to be items you have to omit. All right, so that's kind of like a judgment call. How much do you want to omit? So here, show you how. Let's bump up the light here so you can fully see the details. All right, we are super zoomed in. All right, so you see how I broke it down to 3 pieces. All right, so you could see kind of like the details right there. All right, kind of like how we're drawing it up right here. All right, so we have all that overlap. All right, so this will probably be the first one that we digitize. Okay, and then let me show you. Let's go back to the original light. All right, and then let me show you the easy way, or the less complicated, less yeah, just can be quicker. All right, which is the fill stitch here. All right, so this one, the reason why I'm saying it's a little straightforward, because really all we're gonna do, okay, all you got to do is create the outline. Right, we're gonna create the outline. Right, and then individually, now we could go in and we're gonna make running stitches. Now it's easier to include these small details. All right, I really like this one because you could include everything. If there's little small um, information that you want to put, okay. So when I'm doing a lot of the ones that I do, okay, we have like rifles involved. There's little small minute details that we have. So once you have kind of like you're getting out of just the wings portion, you're adding little small minute details, then you might want to do it like this. Okay, very straightforward, and I'll show you. Actually, we're going to start with that way first, and then we'll do this one here second. Okay, and then the third way, this one here. Okay, this one's really the I would say this one's really the easiest one here. Okay, because we don't really have to worry about the overlaps. Okay, you actually want to avoid overlapping so you could have some spacing in between the wings. Okay, I think this one here, it works very well when you have bigger feathers, okay, or the wings. The yeah, the spacing on the wings is a little bit okay, is a little bit bigger. For example, here it's kind of hard to work with it because our wings had the little minor details. All right, that's why I had to up it up and make our wings a little thicker here. Right. There are certain designs where the wings they're a little bigger, a little thicker, so it's a little easier to do that version there. All right. All right. Let's transition to the software. Okay. Remember, if you have any questions, just put it down. Um, and then let me just put some information out right now. All right. Let's see. All right. Just real quick. Now we're talking about wings today. All right. Very specialized type of design. Okay. Very nichey. Right. Uh, I know uh, embroiderers that's their bread and butter right there, right? They like to be in that. Now today's episode, it's not only for those who are doing wings. Okay. Um, it's always important to know different types of styles, designs, because you never know. You might have something that's not specifically a wing, but something that's similar to something, right? Something that's being stacked up with different layers. and the concept can be transferred to other types of designs. All right. So just because you're not doing wings doesn't mean, you know, it's not good information. It's still good to know, because really the main point of today's um, training, the main focus is layering items that's being layered. Okay. Something's on the bottom and we're layering to have the appearance that something's being, let's say, like in this situation, there's like 10 stacks. All right. So always good to know information, even though it's not something that you're seeing right now or something that you're working on right now. It's still good to know fundamentals and different types of scenarios and how to go about either fixing it or adjusting it so it could fit whatever design you're working on. All right. And then this is good to know. Just for your information, the wings of Bentley logo is not symmetrical. Please count the wing. Okay. All right. All right. That probably is true because when I duplicated it, all right. When I duplicated it, it wasn't perfectly lined up. So that could be the all right. Um, and then out there, do you use a smaller size needle for the small detail on the field? You could. You could. I didn't on this one. Good morning. All right. Good morning, Carol from Wichita, Kansas. All right. I commissioned the ship 2019, the USS Wichita. So yeah, yeah, Wichita. I might drive by it because I got to drive from here from Illinois to California later next year. So I might drive through Wichita. All right. Let's get into the software here. Switch. All right. So and reason why I'm doing the Bentley logo, I just took a trip last week to Chicago, and I was staying at a very nice hotel that week, and I saw nothing but Bentleys, and the wings just like kind of stand out. All right, so I wanted to see how it looked stitched out. Okay, so that kind of was my motivation for today's training. Okay, it's just when you see that logo right up front, it just stands out very strong and solid. Um, all right, so here, right, let's measure this about 4. It says 4.2 here, but by the time we measured out, let's measure this out from its wingspan. All right, so we're looking at about 4 inches. All right, cool. Um, let's lock this down. Okay. And just as a FYI, I'm planning to get different types of software for next year. So I am going to learn a lot of the other ones. So, for example, Embrilliance, very popular software that I get a lot of questions on. So I might just go ahead and get the Embrilliance and go over all the small little details of Embrilliance too. All right, just as a FYI, starting next year. All right. One thing that I like to do. All right. One thing that I like to do is um, I kind of, if I have the time, right? If I have the time, I like to kind of plan out how I'm going to stitch this out. Okay. So right now, I'm just kind of brainstorming. Okay. Kind of getting idea of how my stitches are going to be laid out. Okay. And what this could help me also is you could turn these like notes or mental notes that you're making. Okay, kind of getting a feel of how this is gonna work out. Then I'll show you what's the how I use this right now. Then here. All right, I'm kind of getting like the view of how this wingspan is going to be shaped out. Okay. Actually, let me. Just curious right now. Now that we brought it up, how many wings? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So 11 here, 10 here. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. All right. So definitely not symmetric. All right. They do look symmetric. Let me see. Uh, yeah, they're kind of off. All right. Uh, I would say 99% of every wing that I've done, that I've ever done, has always been symmetric. So thanks for bringing that information up. That is not symmetric. All right. All right. So we would have to do one side here and the other side here if you wanted to get the exact same one. All right. All right. So here, what you can do also, you can turn these stitches into vectors, right? So let's say let's go into metric rad 0.2. All right. You can make little drawings, little notes to yourself. Okay. Kind of have an idea of how you want to go about, right? And of course, you can make this more detailed to kind of fit an exact pattern that you want to go with. All right. Or something that I've also done is made the notes on paper and then take a picture and then bring the picture here with the notes on paper here. All right. All right. Let's dim this down a bit. All right. So let's go with column B. Okay. Column B, very useful type of tool. Okay. Of course, you could use the column A. Column A is a popular one too. But here, column B, I do one side first, do the next side next. Okay. Um, here, this is actually let's do the fill one first. All right, let's do the fill first. Okay, which I'm gonna call it the easy way. All right, I'm gonna do a quick trace. All right. Um, Here, it's a matter of preference if you want to put this details. Okay, we could do it rounded to make it a little smoother, but we could also add these little. All right, it's just round. Oops. Of course, there's always the backspace button, right? A lot of time saver, so you don't have to start from scratch. This one here, we're just putting the small details of each end. Okay, here, usually I like my wings to be straight. Here it has a curve to it. I don't want to add that curve, so you could just go straight right here. All right, we're just tracing right now. Okay, anytime we're doing fills, it's just a quick, easy trace. So same thing here. All right, I'm not gonna do it super perfect, right? But usually I would zoom in a bit. And if you're stitching something for time that you wanted to stitch out real quick, you could just make this one full curve here. All right, here we got our trace. Okay, of course now we're talking about settings. Okay, click for our settings, and we went a couple weeks talking about all about settings. Um, Here you could go 0 degrees. You could also just make it go a tad bit 5 degrees. Where do you want to start? Where do you want to stop? Okay, I can stop it here, and then my start down here below. Then we always gotta say what underlay. Usually could be safe with a tatami, and I'll put a edge run and bump that up a bit. Okay, then you can zoom in here. There go. Let me see. Yeah, I see my edge run here. Okay. Reason why I went to a 0.8, just so it's not so tight down here on the sides. Okay, so that's cool there. Okay, now kind of see through here. I'm gonna make this the rounded circle. Okay, so we're gonna get a closed shape here. Let's see, backspace. I'm gonna use this white part of the circle as my guide. All right, so we just create a shape, a circle. Color this black. Bam. All right. Select both. We're gonna use our welding. Okay, to flatten it out right here. Here you can read the definition. Flatten trims all overlaps in selected overlapping objects. And then you could see here as my setting, I have a 1 millimeter overlap. All right, it's usually pretty safe. If you want to go more overlap, you could always adjust it. I got it here, and what that did, it made a hole hide. All right, made a hole right there to allow the black part to come in. Right on. Okay. So far, I would say these two, we've created two objects, the bottom fill and then this top part, okay, the circle. Okay, so usually for the most part, not a lot of wings designs has a kind of middle in between, but this one does. So we're including it here. And now comes the detailed part. Okay, so let's hide this. Okay, now we're going to create our details. So everything that's in black here, okay, so our wings and everything, all this detail, now it's time to include that. Now, since we're doing a running stitch, okay, you can pretty much include everything that's here. All right, so we're gonna get running stitch, okay, but the difficult part about this portion here is kind of analyzing where do you want to start, which path do you want to take. All right, which path do you want to take? And a lot of times I'm just gonna stitch it out and I'm gonna branch it. Okay, I'm gonna branch it, and you could allow the the software to do a lot of the thinking for you. Okay, you could do halfway thinking and allow the machine or the software to do the other half of the thinking. All right, for example, let me tell you what I mean about that. Okay, for example, here I could digitize this bottom part, the bottom part of the design first, branch it out, and then move my way to this wing, branch out this wing, and then move my way to the next one. All right. So um, even though I'm making the compute or the software think about what's the best possible way, I'm still giving it conditions because I'm telling it where to start and where to go next. Okay. So here, what I like to do, bam. Okay, we're just creating our run stitches here. And you could also make this triple run stitches, all right, if you want it to be more bold, right? So here, I'm gonna create our, and you can see I'm just kind of making each shape one at a time. I'm gonna put this one a little low so you can see it, so it's not hiding with the circle bee. Okay, so I got 3 right now, 3 lines coming in, and eventually when I branch it, they're all going to combine into one. All right, which I'll kind of show you right now. All right. What I don't want to do, since I'm going to add triple stitches, and I'm going to branch it, I'm going to try to avoid any overlaps, any unnecessary overlaps. Because if I do, I'm going to introduce 6 stitches instead of 3. All right. So let me show you here. So here, this is 1. Okay. And then I'm going to continue here, take it from where it ended. Bam. So I'm just making run stitches, avoiding any overlapping. Okay. And we talked about branching, very useful. One of the most strongest feature in a software is branching. All right. So if you have branching in your software, okay, you can do a lot of these cool stuff. All right. And then really all you're doing is making run stitches. All right. So we got this part first here. Actually, let me include this part. So since I want to do it in pieces, I'm going to include this part first, make this blue. Okay. So it looks like this. Um, put all these triple runs, right? Which is going to make it more bold, give it a little bit more boldness. Push I, my hotkey here is I for branching, right? So what I want to say is, let's just give it a start point. So it's asking down on the bottom left, it's asking what is your entry point, right? So this is, since I'm going to start with this file first, with this part of the design first, um, I could pretty much put it anywhere, but I want to start it here. And I want to end it here where this part of the wing is going to start. Okay. All right. So it turned it into one piece here. All right. Let's see that stitch out. We'll do it slow motion here. Let me hide this image. All right. So this is what it's going to do. This is the computer. It's when I branched it, it's going to figure out the best way to stitch this running stitches with triple runs. Okay. And then I'm giving it a condition. I wanted just to do this one first. Okay. So I think that's the important part about branching is giving it conditions, telling it where to start, where to stop, and then go to the next one. All right. So here, it's going to calculate what is the most efficient way to do triple runs. So you can see it's already doing it. Now it went back to finish the other ones. All right. And this is just going to give you your design, more boldness, right? And then it ended right where I told it to end. All right. Bam. And now we can continue and do the wing. Okay. So we could, you can always be as detailed as possible. For example, we could do this bottom part of the wing. Okay. We could do the bottom part of the wing, branch it out, and then move on to the next piece of the wing. For this example, I'm just going to do the whole wing all in one shot. Okay, so what we could do, bam, right here. And all you're doing is just kind of strategically tracing, right? Avoiding any double overlaps. So you can see how I just made that. Like it's like a hook. Okay, and then go up. All right, so of course, very tedious. Okay, very tedious. Um, but the one thing, okay, is you have control, right? You pretty much have control of how much detail you want. There might be situations where you don't want, like you don't really mind not having too much details in certain areas, right? Sometimes a digitizer, they don't know your industry, okay? Maybe you know a certain industry more than, right? Like you work in that industry, so you know what could be omitted and what has to stay, okay? That's the good thing about digitizing your files, especially if you're in a certain industry. You could set the guidelines on what details to keep, what details to omit. All right. Now, if you're sending your files out, then it's good practice to just kind of inform your digitizer, like, hey, just keep this part of the design. Okay. So that way they know important parts. Okay. All right. Here, and I'm just going to trace all. All right, and same thing here. As long as we don't have a, once we get into this part here, we can measure this out. Once we're getting here, okay, we're getting very small location 1.3. All right, this part here, I wouldn't add a triple run. All right, it's getting too tight. All right, and I just kind of go past the drawing line a bit, just to so it could be seen pretty good. All right, and then here, same thing. We're just making J's. Okay, the J's give it the appearance, right, of that roundedness. All right. All right. So, of course, when people see embroidery, they see like the final product, right? They see all the nice, cool stuff that's happening, and this is kind of like the stuff that doesn't get shown is the tedious part of of embroidery, which is the digitizing. I'm gonna walk my way to this next part of the wing. Okay. All right. So see what we have. All right. So this is the right wing of it. Now let's see how many cuts we have. Um, so the goal right now, since we're tracing, okay, right now it's showing 25 cuts. Right. That would be unnecessary. So that's where we use the branching. So we have our wing ready to go. Okay. So let's start from the beginning. So this is where it started. I'm going to grab it all the way to where I'm not going to include that last one that I did. This running stitch all the way here. Okay. That's its own independent running stitch. I don't need that to be branched. Okay. And I'm going to omit these small ones because I don't want those to have triple stitch. Everything else, I want them to have triple stitch. So put a triple stitch right there. Bam. Okay. Now let's select all of our wings. Actually, let's make this a black. Make this a black. So we can kind of see the difference. All right, let's go ahead, stitch this out or branch it out. So I, push I, start here Okay, start here. And we're going to end it. This last one, this final one. All right, so I made it all into one piece. Now let's see how it stitches out. Hide others. All right, and then let me get this good question right here. All right, TMG, good question right here. All right. Has the branching feature ever not stitched out the way you anticipated? Yes. If so, what features did you change? Maybe the object stitch order, etc. Yeah. So there's gonna be time because right now, so I made this whole wing, right? I branched out this whole wing. If there's something I don't like about it, I want to set certain conditions. Um, so I would break it up into pieces. I would say, hey, do this part first, branch this part first, and then go ahead, branch this next part first, and then do this top part last. Okay, so if you do give it conditions, you have a better chance of branching to work out. The more options you give the software, the more possibility where something doesn't come out right or something doesn't come out the way you want it to come out. All right, so we could set conditions by that by breaking up our branching into pieces. All right. But yeah, it's sometimes it's not 100% sure that it's always gonna come out the way you want it. But let's go ahead, let's play it. All right, let's fast forward this. Oops. Cool. All right. So right here, right, the branch. So you see how it went up? It went up. So I figured out a better way to do it instead of doing all the bottom ones at one shot. Okay, since we don't really have overlap, okay, these are not sand stitches. The order doesn't matter as much as it does when we have sand stitches where they're overlapping. All right, so here, let's speed it up a tad bit. All right, so now it's done most of it. Now it's just gonna do those finish the triple stitches. All right, now branching, that's like the easy way out, right? That's just you less thinking. Um, that's just tracing without kind of rapidly tracing a little bit more quicker. We could do it where you just do piece by piece. Okay, you just have to map it out. You just have to map it out. But of course, if you don't have branching and you have to manually do it, then it's no problem. You would just do it one by one, kind of like the way I did it. Okay, just putting the start stop option. Okay. All right, let's undo this or unhide all. All right, let's turn this green into white. Bam. All right, so on normal wings, all right, duplicate. We get this side, duplicate it, flip it or mirror horizontal, and then change our position to a negative X. All right, now we got it on this side right here. All right, if we're trying to match this logo, if this was a customer logo and they needed it exactly the way it is, then we wouldn't duplicate it. Okay, we wouldn't duplicate it. But in this scenario, I'm just going to duplicate it. All right, since we duplicated it, we just want to make sure here 8R fills matches. Okay, so you could just match it up here. All right, you could just match them up so it can fit right there. All right. So I got this wing, the running, and it goes to the other part of the wing. Okay, let's make this all black. All right, so we got bam, this part. Bam. All right. Then you could just put apply closest join. All right. So we have, yeah, it's showing 3 cuts right now. So it's the white, and then I have the black fill stitch. Then I start with this one. Okay. Of course, we could go to 2 cuts, but 3 right now is fine. All right. So right now it's just three total cuts, and then of course we'll put the detail, this top part also. All right. Let me go ahead. Let me fast forward to the one I already have. Um, Fill trace with Bentley. All right. Let me change this color to black. All right. So I added the detail here on the top. Let me see how many cuts we have. 4. All right. So we have 4 to add to the letter B. All right. So you can see kind of how included that little detail of the B, has that little backside of the B right there. All right, let's go ahead. Let me see how many total stitches. 7,000 total stitches. So it's not too bad. Okay, I would say this is very left chest friendly. All right. The big thing is we included all this small detail right here. All right, all the detail that we might not have been able to use um, during a sand stitch. Okay, now we can include it. All right, so let's run it real quick. Okay, so we have this open gap right here to kind of let the circle part in. All right, let's speed it up a tad bit. All right, we're at a 5 degree tatami stitch with a tatami underlay and a tatami underlay with a edge run, just to keep everything nice and in shape. All right, stopped here, and then push play. Put the circle. Of course, we can do. Let me rewind that. We could always change the direction. Okay. How do you want it to stitch out? All right. But for the most part, these are run stitches. So I'm not too worried about overlapping. I'm not too worried about. I let a lot of the software do a lot of the thinking. The thinking or the conditions that I set was I wanted to do the bottom first. So it's not like I just branched it all the way through, right? Because that would probably introduce a lot of unnecessary stitches. But the condition that I set, I made it stitch out the bottom first. So I branched out the bottom. Then I made the right wing. Okay, branched the right wing and included that top part too in the branching. Then I transitioned to the left wing, right, which was the copy and paste portion. Put that part, and then bam, right. And then it gets to the final letter. Well, let me stitch out this letter right here. So center run with a zigzag. Okay, put this top part first. I included the back side of the B. So you'll see right here, it kind of has the shape of that back side of the B. I think that's important on the Bentley logos. Yeah, so you can have the corners of that B sticking out. All right. So even though we have full details, okay, we still manage to keep our trims very low. All right, 4 cuts. All right. So let's go with the second method, the full sand stitch right here, what you see here. All right. So this was our final, let's see, 1 trim. So if you look at the settings here, 1 trim. All right. So as soon as we push start, we pretty much let it just run right there. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's delete this right here. Okay. This is one where we got to do a little bit more thinking. All right. A little bit more thinking. Um, I like to use the column B where you do one side first, then you match it with the other side. So let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so we're gonna run one. So it's always trace angle setting. All right. So right now I did one side. All right, Control H allows me to set my angles here. All right. For the most part, it should come out good. The angles. All right. Let's change this to a color that we can see. A little easier. All right. So this is my first part, and then let me show you just one thing real quick. Let me um when I'm tracing this, since I want to have overlap. Okay. Since I want to have overlap, start up here. I want to go above the drawing here. So this is the top part. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Go past a bit. Now let me do this bottom part. Go right below it. Control H for my angles. All right, one thing that I want to point out, okay, we can kind of see the overlap. Um, Now, how much overlap is required? Okay, that's always the big question right here. So here we could see our needle points, all right? So this is two objects overlapping each other. Now, how much overlap is required? Okay, because if we do not have a certain amount of distance, we will have gaps. All right, this is the challenging part of this method here. This is the challenging part, right? So here, 0.65, definitely there will be gapping. Okay, there will be gapping. Um, so in this situation, okay, my sweet spot for not to have any gapping is we need to have a overlap of anywhere between 1.2 and 1.45 millimeters. All right. So what I want to do, H, select one side and then I could pull it. Okay, I could just pull one whole side. So if you see here, I could pull this whole side. All right. So all I want to do is bring it over the line here. All right. Now you could do it on both sides. So bam, H, grab the whole side, shift click, and then I have control of this whole side. I keep this, take this one out here. So you could pull that whole side with it. All right. I'll introduce a, just to bring it in a tad bit. Bring this guy in a tad bit. All right, now when we measure it, okay, M. All right, 1.4. All right, all good right here. All right, all good. And when you do your stitch out, your sample stitch out, if you see that you have gapping, too much gapping, then that's the way we would want to fix that. Okay. Um, if you have something where it's just kind of like minimal and you want to do a quick fix, okay, this is like worst case scenario, but it's also a certain method that you could do. You could always change the pull compensation. Um, so let's say you just need kind of like a tad bit and you want to change it to like a 0.3. That's just going to pull everything, all both sides. Okay. So it gives you a little umph of space. All right. Little quick fix to do it there. All right. Always, it's always better just to kind of go into the actual object and change it there. But there's always different methods of accomplishing a task. All right. D. So same thing, repetition over and over and over and over and over and over. All right. Um, Let me go here. Let's go ahead. Let's play it out because there's a couple things I want to show you. All right, a lot of small little details that I want to talk about. All right, let me make it as big as possible. All right, let's play this. All right. Well, let's start with that bit of information. All right. Where do you want to start? All right. Where do you want to start? There's always the best way, and then there's the most efficient way. Okay. Of course, the best way I would say is to start with the B, work your way from the middle to inside out. Right. It's always the common practice you want to do. All right. But in this situation, I want this round circle to be last because I want it to be on top of the wings. All right. And then I want the outside rings to be on the bottom side of the ring. Right. So in this situation, I'm going to do the outside rings first. Right. Outside ring first, including with the feathers down here on the bottom, because that's going to be overlapped at the very end. All right. Then I'm going to do the right hand wing, followed by the left. And then that final ring. And then since we have this little closeness here, I could just jump right into the letter. All right. So that's how I have my only one trim here. All right, so I'm going to start up here on the top. So let me pause real quick. Let me just show you what happened here. Edge run with a zigzag, all right, just to keep our sand stitches nice and clean. All right, I walked down below because that's going to get covered. You always want to use areas that are going to get covered as you're walking. Here, let's stop that real quick. Okay, on the left side, just since I'm on this side here, might as well do here's my chance to do a little light global underlay. Okay, this is just to keep, just to adhere the the cutaway with my fabric. All right, that way I kind of secure my area there for later. All right, now come down, and I'm using that circular ring. That's my final stitch as my walking location. All right, so it gives me location to kind of use it as a run stitch, and then here do the bottom feathers. Okay, one by one with the proper overlapping. That's the most important thing to avoid any gapping. All right. So one thing that I just noticed here. Okay. One thing that I noticed. Oops. Let's rewind a bit. And this is kind of stuff that you catch when you're replaying it. All right. You definitely catch it when you're watching it stitch out. Okay. I just digitized this and stitched it out. So I'm even looking at it, some of this for the first time too. So here I have a just a center run as an underlay. Okay, you could probably get away with that right now. Okay, but you could also add a zigzag underlay. Maybe not need you probably don't need an edge run, but it could be useful to have a zigzag. All right, the stitch out came out good, so it's not like it had to have it, but could be useful. All right, then it's gonna walk its way, and you could see the underlay or the global underlay that I put down there, just to keep that side nice and secure. All right, let me pause this real quick. All right, so let's slow this down a bit. Let's go into slow motion right here. So it's gonna finish this stitch, and then I included a walking stitch to go to the next sand stitch. All right, so let's kind of put that. So stitch, and then it's gonna walk to its next one, and bam. All right. So little small details, but it forces it to start the stitches on the top side of my sand stitch. All right, so here I included edge run with a zigzag. All right, so then continue. Then just notice that there's sufficient amount of overlay. All right, so we got overlay here, good amount of overlay. All right, I'll go back and see what's the distance on my overlay. All right, so let's kind of speed it up a tad bit. All right, now it's starting to look exactly like how we drew it up on the planning board. Bam, now it's gonna do those three. It's gonna do the final, the main one. Okay, after it's finished here, it's gonna walk over to the next, bam, and do and repeat. All right, repeat. All right, let's speed it up a bit. So it's the same thing as before. 2, 3, bam, circle, and then letter B, bam. All right, there you go. All right, uh, let me check out the distance. See, all right, needles M. So this is what I'm focused on here is this overlap here. All right, so that's where it's at. You can measure this out. All right, actually, this is a 0.99. Okay, 0.1 usually a recommended overlap is a 1 millimeter. Okay, in this situation where we have sand stitches stacked on stand stitches like multiple times, that's when a 1.2 or 1.4. Okay, so if we do have gapping in this area, okay, we could adjust it, and then we can adjust it this way. We can select our stitch H to get into our nodes, and then just pull that whole side. Okay, so if we're seeing this side, so if we're looking at it like this, okay, I selected one whole side. We can just pull that a bit, all right, a tad bit. So you have control of how much you want it to pull or extend. Okay, if you only needed 0.2, right, it's just a little subtle distance, all right. All right, I'm gonna undo that. Um, all right, let's see, let's check out these here. We definitely want to have this part. This is our main part. So let's measure that here. All right, 1.4 of an overlap. All right. So if you have gaps, and this is just gap in general, because that's usually something that in embroidery, it's going to be a forever issue. And usually gapping is there's not enough overlap. Okay, that's really what it is. Okay, so you can either pull your object, or you can always do a pull compensation, which is like the quick and easy way to do it. But if you have the option to pull your stitches, let me see right here, right? If you have the nodes, right? If you control the nodes, then you could kind of take care of those little small tiny tweaks. All right. All right. Bam bam. All right. So it's kind of straightforward. Okay. I would say this way is straightforward as long as you have your overlaps situated. All right. And then here, since we have numerous amount of overlapping, is just what do you want to omit in the design. So you can see here, I definitely did not include all this design, all this detail. All right. Just because way too much overlap. Okay. Way too much overlap. Um, what I would suggest if you do want to keep this detail is maybe go to a thinner needle. Also, maybe turn each of these small details, and so instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all right, break it down to maybe 4. All right, so maybe make these 1, 2, 3, and then that's hop on 4. All right, so there's always different options that you could have. Okay, or make this a fill stitch here. All right, so I'm going to show you that one on this example here. right? But for the most part, this one here, if I were to be making a checklist on what, hold on, let me bring this up right here. If I were to be making a checklist on how to go about digitizing these, okay, specifically this one is number one is where do you want to start? Okay, what's on top, what's on bottom. All right, whatever's on the bottom, that's what has to get stitched out first. All right. Second thing, most important thing is the overlaps. All right. You won't know if you need more overlaps until you actually do a stitch out. Okay. I've seen the best of the best digitizers um, where I've gotten files back and it required little tweaks. Okay. If you have the software and if you have the actual working file, then it's an easy. Let me just pick it up a tad bit. All right. The problem is if you don't have access to the files, um, now you have to play the back and forth email game. Okay. Hey, can you make, I have a little gap here. Can you fix that? Okay. If you have control of the file, even if you purchase files, if you can control the spacing and the nodes, then you're at an advantage because you could fix little tiny tweaks. All right. And then three, right, is how many cuts do you want? Sometimes you have to introduce more cuts. Sometimes, let me see how I can word this. Okay. Sometimes, so in this situation, I had only one cut, right? Best case scenario. But if I wanted to do the B first, right? It's okay to have two cuts. Okay. So, um, because usually you want the middle from the inside out. Okay. But you could test it. I've tested it. It doesn't bring any weird um, any weird registration issues. All right. That's why uh, I had put the global underlays before in the beginning to kind of spread our fabric out. Okay. But for the most part, very straightforward. All right. Big thing here is our overlap. All right. TMG question. Why do you have edge and zigzag underlay and full sand wings and only use sand round for the wings in the open area design? Hold on. Why do you have edge and zigzag? Oh, and that the big ones. Let me see. Let's check. Hold on. Let me go big size here. Mm. So for the most part, if I have something, I think on all the wings I have zigzag and an edge run, if I'm not mistaken. Just these bottom ones, I only had a center run, but for the most part, I think I had. Hold on, let's see what the object list says. Uh, Edge run zigzag. All right, these all have edge run zigzags because they're all edge run zigzags. The only one I didn't have it, I was on this one, and then on my lettering, center run zigzag. My lettering, I didn't put a edge run. I just kept it like how I usually do my lettering. But we could put an edge run here. All right, we could put an edge run, but for the most part, edge run. Just because there's the spacing is allowing me to do it. All right, if it's too thin, I'm not gonna include the edge run. I'll just put a center run. All right, but for the most part, yeah, everything has edge run zigzag. All right, let's go to this third one. Okay, third one. Bad 2, 3. This one here, D. All right, this one here. Um, there's certain wings. All right, I'm gonna say this wing here really doesn't It doesn't really, it's not really used for this type of wing here, but there are certain designs, okay, that you might see where there's the actual opening where you could see the opening of the wing and it looks very nice, especially when it's very symmetric. Okay. Here, this is what I wanted to show you earlier. Okay. Details, instead of trying to put all this detail here with sand stitches, okay, could just put a fill. Okay. Just make it a fill. Okay. It's so small that we wouldn't even be able to see any type of detail here. All right. So the height, probably the biggest distance is probably like a 7. So here, right, if we're looking at this, 8 millimeters. All right. Very small, very tiny. All right. We could include this detail here. So what I was saying earlier, where we could turn them into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sand stitches. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So just exclude like the side one. Okay. Could include that so we still have some form of detail. All right. So it's the same file as before. The only thing is we allow these gaps to be there. Okay. So it could be shown on the actual stitch out. All right. Now you don't want it too close where the needles, okay, where these are getting too close. Okay. You want to give yourself some space just so you don't have any kind of funny cuts or anything. All right. But for the most part, all right, you'll see these gapping right here. All right. Which in here it's intentional gapping. So since it's intentional, oops, let me take this one out. Since it's intentional, we want to make sure we leave some spacing here. All right. And then as long as we could copy and paste, it should look very nice, symmetrical. All right. But for the most part here, still kept it with the overlap just because I'm using the same file before. The only thing I did was change it here. All right. And what I'm doing is I'm combining these two wings since they're so thin. I'm just kind of combining them together. All right. So instead of having two small skinny ones, I have one big one here. All right. And then we could check our distance, about 5 millimeters. So should be all right. All right. And then let's go again. Let me show you again. Now that we install it in the software, let me bring it up again. The actual stitch out. Let me just turn on my camera. All right. Let's see the final stitches of these. All right. All right. So this was our fill. Okay. Fill. So it gives it that boldness. The reason why we have that boldness because they're triple run stitches. So it really stands out. Like you could see this from a distance. All right. Whereas if we're going sand stitches, you might have to come a little closer to kind of get the full details of it. But this one here, this one's actually one of my favorite ones. So when I'm working on this project that I'm about to do, where I'm doing wings, all right, I'm gonna kind of go strong on this side here, just because you could see it from a distance. All right, and I also think it would be very hat friendly because when you're from a distance, also if somebody's wearing a hat from a distance, all right, you could see it from a good distance here. All right. So this was our method number one. I would say this is kind of like a simpler way. We don't really have to worry about overlaps. Okay, overlaps I would say requires more testing, right? Because you stitch it out, you kind of figure out where the overlap uh, is not enough. Okay, but for this one, all right, the main thing here is deciding. Let me zoom in a bit. Deciding where you're going to start, where you're going to stop, and giving branching. And when you branch it, give the software some conditions. Okay. All right. And then our second way, okay, this one here. This one, it's dark blue right now, all right. But I would say I should have stitched it out in gold because really that's what I stitch out a lot of these air wings in is in gold. Let me stitch. In gold, it looks very nice. All right. So if you do stitches, stitch it out in gold. All right. Good thing about this one here, details. All right. It's the details that really pop out. Um, what I like to do, I like to stitch it out on contrast colors. That's why I'm doing it on a light fabric with dark colors, so I can see any imperfections. Okay, because when it's if I ever do like black on black or black on dark gray, okay, all these little small imperfections, they kind of disappear. All right, but of course, sample out right here. All right, so main thing here, if you want the details, you're gonna go with a full sand stitch. Big thing is the overlap, and then let me show you one thing that I so earlier when I was measuring our sand stitches and it was showing a 1 millimeter overlap. Okay. Okay. This could be the potential right here. So let me see right here. We kind of tiny see a little dot right here. Right. If you zoom in close enough, you'll see a little dot. Okay. Could be the reason why. Okay. We when I pushed it up to a point of 4. All right. So requires a little bit more. And then as you can see here, this one, it's copied, paste on this side. And you can see how here on the second one, little tiny dot there. All right. Now, as soon as you zoom out, okay, so like from where I'm sitting at right here, okay, I don't see those gaps. All right. That's really when you kind of super zoom in. All right. All right. And then let's show the third one. And the third one, okay, where you want to just kind of give some spacing, let the wings kind of stand out a bit. I am working on a 3D puff wings. All right, so I'm doing the video actually today. I'm doing the video today. All right, so look out for wings. Okay, it's kind of like a part 2 to this video. All right, the video I'm working on today is wings, but 3D puff. All right, so that one's gonna be a good one. All right, and then it kind of goes with Baby Jean. Good morning. Well, class three was medical logos with wings. Can't believe how I was able to follow what you were doing now. Yeah. So yeah, you are right. So we kind of went like full circle to week 3 when we talked about medical logos. All right. So a lot of stuff that we're talking about now, right? On day 1 when we were starting, it was like foreign to a lot of us here in the class. Okay, but the more we see it, the more we see examples, we kind of get an idea of all these settings because when you look at your software, could be overwhelming. Okay, our software could be overwhelming because there's just so much settings, right? And I remember when I started with my software, I didn't want to mess with a setting because I thought it would mess the whole design up, right? But as soon as we start understanding what each setting does, all right, it kind of takes away the fear of digitizing. All right. So big thing is to look out for that video on 3D puff wings, right? Which is kind of like working with the full sand. Okay, working with the full sand way. Um, I'll kind of talk about little stuff, little details we want to look out for wings. But I think 3D puff wings, all right, next level. All right, very it stands out, stands out good. All right. All right. So I think we're good with time. All right. Uh, good with questions. All right. All right. So today, right, wings, medical field. Okay. Heavy military. I would say I'm in the Navy. Do a bunch of wings for the Navy. All right. Very popular. Just detail wise. So as you can see here, right, the right side of the wing, good detail. Um, so I would say when we're doing wings, it's all about the details. How much details do you want to provide? All right. And now we have options of what route to go with. All right. It's all about options. There's not one way to digitize a certain design. All right. There's tons and tons of different ways. So we always got to see which way uh, is going to be more beneficial time wise, cost wise. Uh, and we kind of got to know what can be omitted and what has to be in the actual design. All right. So that's why if you're in a specific niche and you know that niche, right, then you could kind of make those decisions and also give that information to your digitizer, right? Tell them, give your digitizer conditions, right? You don't want to tie their hands 100%, but at the very minimum, you want to say, hey, this little design, this little detail, piece of detail, I would want to include this part of the detail, or this part of the detail. It doesn't matter if you include it, that's fine. All right, all right. Um, yeah, TMG. Can't wait to analyze the wings. But yep, it's either dropping today. No, to be on the safe side, tomorrow, Sunday. All right, so look out for the 3D puff of the wings. All right, it's gonna be a good one there. And then yeah, sports, right? Sports and wings, right? Go hand in hand. You'll see a lot of that right there. All right, so I want to thank you for stopping by today. All right. I know digitizing, I would say on the amount of exciting videos out on YouTube, right? Digitizing, I wouldn't put it on the right on the top side, right? Everybody wants to see the final product and the most amazing stuff, but this is the stuff, right? If you understand digitizing, if you understand the who, what, where, when, how, why certain stuff happens, okay, you could kind of get yourself um, out of certain situations when something's not lining up, when something's not looking right. All right, the ugly side of embroidery. Okay, this is the information that's going to help you. All right, especially taking your designs to that next level. All right, so I want to thank you for stopping by today. I'll see you on the next one. Right, we got two more live shows left. All right, so pretty much we're gonna end with a bang. All right. So I want to thank you stopping by. See you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.